Okay, today we're at the PICO cabinet again, looking at DIN rail mounting of your Raspberry Pi projects. And what we're going to look at today, I'm just going to zoom into the bottom here, and we'll use this as a little display area down here. We're going to look at the Raspberry Pi PICO. And this is how a lot of people configure their Raspberry Pis. They put the pins up so they can put on their test leads and connect it to their projects. So that's one way of doing it. I've actually got a better preferred way. I like to use these breadboards, but what I like to do is I like to put these very long pins so that I can actually, they're the same as my production Raspberry Pis, PICOs, where I could put the same connectors on the top, but the connections go into the boards and allow me to put all my test gear on, scopes, multimeters, etc. So the challenge is, once you've completed your project, next you want to put it somewhere. So what we've developed this time is now a Raspberry Pi PICO DIN rail adapter, and this is the one we've got here. Now what's wonderful about this is you can actually mount the PICO in any direction you want. You can mount it that way up, you can mount it across, you can mount it upside down in the same one. And what is great is if you use that's a naked one. If I use this one here, which is a typical one I'd use for a project after I've finished breadboarding, you could see that you could put the pins on the top, or if you've got pins on the bottom because you prefer, you can mount it that way up, so that then you can just plug on all the other electronics and I/O that you want. So that's the first thing. And these just, I'm going to actually use this Raspberry Pi and I'm just going to pop it in here. Let's get that back in and clipped in. Right, and then you've got the connector here for the USB, and then you can just put that on your DIN rail and slide up the locking pin. So that's how you can mount your Raspberry Pi PICOs. Again, the distance here between here and the hole is 25 millimeters, which gives you plenty of space to put on your standard 12 millimeter label from your label printers. And just one comment that I've got, which I've found on Raspberry Pis. I know that when you get started with the Raspberry Pi PICO, there's a lot of clicking on this button. You can add an additional one to help you load in the code without having to untouch and reattach the USB port. Well, clearly it's very inconvenient if it's in your PICO cabinet with a USB cable coming off to be clicking on these pulling in and out cables. So actually there's a link to a video that I found, an article on how to configure the software on your PC that can actually do some magic over the USB port and actually put the Pi PICO into the software download mode without having to press any buttons, even touch it. You can just do it all via software, and you can put that in your tool chain when you're compiling your software for the PICO and trying to get it loaded on. So that means, again, you can put it in your cabinet and close the door and just sit at your laptop programming and keep downloading new code to your PICO. So if you're interested in the DIN rail PICO mounting bracket, then again, look in the comments below. You'll find a link to eBay where you can purchase those Raspberry PICO DIN rail adapters along with the other adapters that you see in the cabinet.